quarter, dude. She's down.
Let's go.
Dude, I just shot a deer of a lifetime.
Freaking smoked him.
One with nature, and if you're a believer, one with God.
Definitely gets your heart pumping. Boy, you are in trouble.
Fall Obsession Podcast.
What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to another Fall Obsession Podcast episode. I'm Sam, your podcast host, and this episode is driven by Ridge Rock Hunt Company. I'll talk more about them at the end. Thank you to our listeners for hanging with us for a couple weeks. We've been off of our normal publication schedule for a brief period, but we are back now, and I am super pumped to be on here with a couple up in the Midwest. One of our staff members, Mike Tepe. Welcome back to the podcast, man.
Thank you very much.
And Mike also has his wife, Sydney, with us this evening. Welcome to Fall Obsession Podcast, Sydney.
Thank you.
So we are here to talk turkey. It's turkey season. I know it's been super awesome seeing a bunch of birds flooding in on our staff, from our staffers to our pages, and then also from our turkey hunt competition. We got those folks bagging some birds in that as well. But you guys had a really good start to your season up there in Michigan. And that's kind of what we're here to talk about, is y'all's success up there. So, Mike, I know we kind of talked before we started recording, you know, you got that new series, Midwest Mindset, and we'll hit that kind of toward the end. But in that series, you know, you got, and as we've talked about on the podcast before too, you've got some different property options and stuff out there in the Midwest. So where are we to start turkey season up there for you guys?
Okay, so you know, we're located here in southern Michigan. We're actually not very far at all from northern Indiana. And yes, I'm fortunate enough. I've got a handful of spots that I can run and gun for turkeys. Not as fortunate when it comes to the whitetails. Around here, that's the premium, like it is across most of the country.
Yep.
But turkeys come, you know, second or third around here. And so it's easier to pick up some turkey ground. And so with that being said, we're fortunate enough that we've got more than just one or two or even three options there on where we can run and gun. I'm so busy at this time of year owning a small business with lawn care that I just don't have the time like I used to. I really enjoyed bow hunting these birds back in the day before I owned my business. And I still dream of doing that again, and maybe someday we'll get back to that. But right now, with the limited time, I just run and gun. So, yeah, that's kind of where we're at right now. The season just opened up last Saturday. It was April 22nd. And here in Michigan, on private land, you got a pretty decent season. It goes from April 22nd to, I think it's May 31st.
Okay.
So it's a pretty lengthy season, especially coming from Indiana, where we used to live, where you had like 2.5 weeks.
Yeah. Gotcha. So we're in Michigan, and you just mentioned, you know, how you with your business and everything, you don't have quite the time that you had or would like to have, you know, with turkey hunting and everything. Obviously still had some time to get out there. So what were your expectations going into the season? Did you have trail cam pictures of turkeys? Did you have an idea where you were starting out, or was it just kind of a cold start, let's see what happens type deal?
So when you're obsessed like I am with the outdoors, there is no such thing as a cold start.
Yep. Okay.
You can ask my wife sitting here. She, yeah. So anyways, I mostly now, when it comes to turkey anyways, I would probably say 90% of my scouting running my Tacticam reveals. You know, as most of you guys know, the Tacticam reveals cellular cameras that send the pictures right to your phone. So I get, I've got a handful of them, and I set them up on various properties. I'm fortunate enough that these properties that we're hunting are all properties we've had some experience with in the past. So I know where the birds have been in previous seasons, and I start out there and just move cameras accordingly. I did get a couple mornings, I would say probably 4 mornings in the last 2 weeks leading up to season, where before I would go off to work in the morning, I would listen for birds. on the roost that 20, 30 minutes before daylight and up to daylight. Even watched a couple pitch down. So I'm not going to say I didn't do any scouting, but it was quick and efficient.
Yeah.
And so basically, majority of my scouting, though, is running those tag cams. They tell me what I need to know. They let me know if there's birds on a certain property or at least in a certain area of that property. And if I'm not getting birds, I move the cameras around till I either get them or I realize they're just not there this year.
Yeah. No, it's really cool to see the push these past several seasons with the cell cam technology and to watch that progress really quickly. I feel like with not just the Tacticams. I know a lot of us, are using that and becoming affiliated with them and everything, but just cell cams in general, regardless of brand.
Mm-hmm.
It's really a tool in the toolbox that not a lot of hunters have had before, And I was talking to a guy last night, actually, came over to my place for dinner, and we were just talking about cell cams in general. I was like, yeah, during deer season, my dad and I will be sitting there in camp and we'll plan our hunt locations for the next morning, based off of my phone, based off of trail cam pictures on your phone and everything that you got the day before. So it's really interesting to see how technology has progressed for hunters in that way.
Yeah, I mean, it tells, I tell some of my friends and guys that I talk to on a daily and weekly basis during the fall, during the hunting season, I tell them, don't get too caught up in the trail cameras, whether it's cell cam or not. You're only getting that little view in front of that camera. There is such a degree around it where I've watched deer walk right around it on the backside, never get a picture. So I don't take it to heart necessarily, even though I do utilize it as a tool in the toolbox. But what I do is I use it as confirmation. I have confirmation that there is a turkey out here at this time on this day. I have a confirmation that there's a buck out here at this time, this day. You know what I mean? So it's more of confirmation for me as just, okay, I know for a fact that this animal I'm hunting was out there. But if I don't get pictures, it's not that I'm necessarily going to avoid that. I'm still going to go with my gut based on the scenario.
Yeah, exactly. So going back to our turkey hunt here, it's April 22nd, correct? That's what you said earlier. April 22nd. Take us into to your opener up there in the Midwest.
Well, we're going to back up about 12 to 24 hours to April 21st, which is a Friday afternoon. So the wife and I, we got three littles. We got a 2, a 5, and a 9. It's kind of hard to get out with the both of us when you got that at home. And so we had a babysitter lined up for Friday night. So then that way the wife and I could hunt together opening morning, Saturday. Well, things happened that were outside of our control, and that babysitter date got moved from Friday evening to Saturday afternoon. Well, I had a bird located Friday morning, pitched off the roost. I'm ready. I've got it all planned out. We're taking the wife in first thing Saturday morning. We're hoping for a slam dunk. Obviously, there's no such thing in hunting, but that's what we're hoping for.
Right.
And we get the news at about 6 p.m. that, hey, deal's off. We're going to have to wait. So, crap, now what, right? So I look at the wife and I was like, well, I'm going in the morning. And she's like, well, what do you mean? I'm not going. It's open in the morning. I'm not going to not go. So I'm just going to go somewhere where I'm not planning on taking you so I don't mess your hunt up, because it is so hard to get a babysitter. Whenever she's got an opportunity to hunt, she's number one priority. So I go out in the morning, go to a spot where I have very minimal knowledge of what's going on first thing in the morning on April 22nd. Get in there, messaging with the landowner. He said he's been hearing some birds on the weekends when he's home from work in the mornings. I've had some action out there over the past couple of years, never actually tagged a bird there. But I thought, you know what? I don't want to ruin the spots where I want to take the wife. So I go out there, sit, got there 20 minutes before legal light, sat there for about 40 minutes total, not one bird. And it was quiet as all get out, no wind. And I didn't hear a bird as far as I could hear. And I'm thinking, there is no birds here. So I hurried up, jumped in the truck, drove down the road about 10 minutes, I would say, actually stopped at one of the spots that I wanted to take the wife, turn the truck off in the middle of the county road, pull the crow call out the window, blow it one time, and a bird pipes off on the opposite side of the road from where I was going to take her.
Oh.
Well, we got permission on both sides of the road there. Fire the truck back up, park in my parking spot, grab my gear, and on my way I go. So I've got pretty good experience on that particular parcel with the birds over the last several years. So I go in, I don't call or nothing, just head right into where I think I might be able to call this bird in where I've had previous success calling them in. Grab my hen decoy, my gun, get all loaded up, hike back in there. Now it's daylight, and here in southern Michigan, it's not been too warm outside of basically 1 week. So we don't have very many leaves at all. We're starting to get some now, but at the time, you could still see through the woods 100 to 125 yards, no problem when you're standing up.
Pretty barren.
Yes, very barren. So I'm trying to be cautious that I don't go in too far and bump this bird out and not get to hunt him. So I stayed back, set the hen decoy out, not in an ideal situation for what I was hoping for, and get all cozy, get the hen call out, the striker, slate call, give her a couple purrs and clucks, boom, fires off. And I'm thinking, okay, he didn't see me. That's confirmation, because if he had seen me, he wouldn't have called.
Yeah.
Well, I'm playing, back and forth with this guy for probably an hour. It does not sound like he has left his area. It literally sounds like he's just doing circles.
Huh.
So in my mind, I've been here, done that when it comes to what these birds are normally doing when that happens. It's usually 90% of the time he's henned up. He's got a hen within eyesight of him. He's showing off, strutting, and he's just doing circles, and he ain't leaving her, which why would he?
Right.
Well, about an hour into calling at him, and I was very, once I realized that was probably what was going on, I never confirmed it because I couldn't see him through the woods. But once I realized that, I just went really light on the calls, and I backed off to calling maybe one sequence every 10 or 15 minutes. And finally, actually a crow called, and all of a sudden he pipes off and he's closer. And I'm like, oh, crap. Okay, he's left the hen, she's left him. Something's happened here. And he's cut the distance probably from, I'm guessing, 250 down to probably 150. So I get the camera ready on the phone, got the tripod ready, strike the call, boom, cuts me off as soon as I hit the call.
Wow.
I'm thinking, okay, he's coming for me. He's coming for this hen that he thinks that's over here. And so get all readied up. I get the binos up. I finally see that redhead pop over the little rise in the timber, and he starts to work his way over to me. He ends up getting out to he gets hung up at about 50 to 60 yards. I think it had partially to do with my poor choice of decoy setup based on the fact that I did not want to press in too far and push potentially the birds out with them seeing me. So I didn't get a really good decoy setup on where I wanted to put the bird. And I don't know if he wasn't buying it or what, but he sat out there between 50 and 60 yards and strutted back and forth and gobbled for 10 minutes.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. Just back and forth in about a 10-yard line, back and forth for about 10 minutes. And the whole time I'm looking at him going, I'm pretty sure that's in range. I couldn't get a range with my rangefinder based on all the brush that was between me and him. But I shot enough birds over the years. I felt like he was less than 60, and I know I'm lethal out to 60 with my 12 gauge 3.5 inch. And I just kept watching him, hoping that he was going to, work in, get me some good video footage and get it on film, get a good film of him. And finally, he says enough. He quit strutting, threw his head in the air, and starts to walk off. Well, anybody that has much experience turkey hunting, when you see that, the gig's up. He don't like something. He's not buying what you're selling.
Right.
So I just said, screw it. got the camera on him the best that I could. Held the BB probably I just run a BB on the end of the barrel. I don't use a red dot. Held the BB probably about 2 inches over the top of his head, shot, boom, face plants right there. 55-yard shot's what it ended up being.
Done.
And my season's over, man. Hour and a half, 2 hours into opening day, hunting a property I wasn't even planning on hunting, and hunting solo. And I thought I was going to be hunting with a wife. And there's 2023 Michigan season in the books.
Wow. That's awesome, man. So I want to go over to Sydney real quick, because obviously plans changed very quickly for y'all this weekend, and now he's going out opening morning by himself instead of with you, and then you add the element of bagging a bird on top of that. What are your thoughts as all this is going on?
What are my thoughts as what his hunting?
Yeah, as the weekend progresses, you lose a babysitter, he goes hunting, and now he kills a bird.
Well, I mean, I expected him to go out and kill a bird. He knows what he's doing. You heard his story. My story is like 5 seconds. Well, it came out and I shot it. Mike's story starts back a month ago. He's been tracking them, planning them. He knows where they're coming from, where they're going. He knows everything about them. Yeah, I expected him to go out. He's pretty good at it. He knows what he's doing. So I pretty much expected him to come home with a bird, or, you know, it's very likely that if he goes somewhere and he's not hearing anything, he's not going to stay there. We've been hunting where we've literally just like ran around properties, just like hiking, but like crawling through woods, trying to find them, crawling right up on them. So like, yeah, I expect that. But it was pretty disappointing because I didn't feel like, I don't know, I felt like we were kind of let down when it came to the babysitter. And I was like, man, how are we going to be able to get all this done now? But it actually worked out really well. We were actually planning on going out earlier, and then he got his and then came home, and then we were planning on going out at like 3, and we ended up not going out. And then we saw it on the cam, that it was on the trail camera, that the turkey was over where we were going to be hunting by when we were going to be out there. And we were like, oh my gosh, we could have been out there. So we didn't know then if our chance was kind of blown, but we just figured we'd go out there again anyways. And yeah, we were successful then too. So he knows where the turkeys are, that's for sure.
That's awesome. So what was your hunt like? Did y'all have a Tom put on a show for y'all too, or was it pretty quick, run gun, get it done?
I am a lot more nervous than he is about that. I can't. Well, first off, we forgot the tripod. So once it came out, he was like, oh no, we don't have the tripod. And so once it came out, I kind of had the gun, had to get positioned. I kind of had the gun up, and he could see that I was already shaking, and because it's a heavy gun. And so he was going to let it, put on a show and beat up the, what's the thing? Yeah, the decoy a little bit, but he could see that I was already shaking because the gun's pretty heavy. So he just let me do my thing. The minute it came out, I shot it. But yeah, my story is, we see what we saw on the trail camera right before, while we were sitting in there. I think you saw it on the trail camera, right? And then we had a hen come out. Yeah. Was that the only time we saw it? Was at 3 o'clock before we went out, or weren't we sitting in there and you saw it go by too? No. So
I'm gonna just cut in a little bit here, Sam, just so we can get this to be a more accurate, story. So, anyways, we were hoping to get out around 4:30 in the afternoon. The grandparents came, got the babies, and took them off around. We thought they're gonna be leaving around 3 to 4. They got out of here at 4:30. By the time we got everything got around, about 5, we get a picture of this bird that I'd been keeping tabs on. And luckily it's right here close to the house where we live. And so I told her, I said, that sucks, but the direction he's heading to go into the timber. It was a on and off sunny and rainy day. And I said, he's going to be back. So maybe this is actually a good thing, because instead of us going out earlier, we might have bumped him when he was out in the wide open field, where this way he'll be tucked away back in the cover. we have a better odds of getting into the blind now in daylight. So we got into the blind clean about 5:30. He went by at 5. And then it was about 6:30. We heard the first gobble. He was only 150, 200 yards away, gobble. He was like, okay, we know he's still here. He didn't see us. We didn't bump him. Didn't really do any calling to this particular bird. That property has been very hit or miss on the calling side of things. They, I don't know if they get pressured a little more or what, but we don't have as much success calling the birds in. And so I did literally a few scratches on the call, and that's it. Just let them know, a couple yelps, hey, we're over here. And really just went silent because I figured they'd be back in. We got a freshly planted wheat field with about, at the time, 3-inch green wheat growing everywhere. So, I mean, talk about an awesome food plot for this time of year, basically. And, yeah, it was about 7 o'clock. We look up. Here comes one hen. Comes right in the decoys. 2 minutes later, here comes another hen right in the decoys, and I'm looking at Sydney saying, he's got to be close. He has got to be close. He's got to be somewhere near these hens. Well, the way we're set up in the blind, I couldn't get video of him because of the way we had the windows opened and closed. But I just peeked through one of the windows, and I see him come out the corner where the second hen came out, about 100 yards. He looks over, sees the decoys in the hens, and he just starts running. And, you know, if you've seen turkeys run, that beard is just a flopping side to side. And I'm like, there he is. Get ready, get ready. She's like, do I get ready right now? I'm like, well, hold on, but yeah, get ready.
That's when I have to hold this giant gun that's like wearing my arms out. I'm waiting for it to come up. I'm already like shaking, like, oh my gosh. It's coming. Should I do it right now? Should I do it right now? These stories are a lot more fun and accurate, though, than mine, huh?
It's two different storytellers. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. But he's a lot more into it than I am. I love to do it. We have fun when we go out together. I love to do it, but I'm definitely not as knowledgeable. And we've pretty much come to the agreement that if you want me to get out there and hunt with you, which I want to too, I have way too much stuff going on at home with 3 kids and everything that we're doing that I'm not going to be able to go out there by myself and call. And I would probably be a lot more, I wouldn't be as motivated if I didn't go out and was like successful all the time. And so we used to always hunt together with deer too, but now I can go by myself. But turkeys, we really don't get that many opportunities. I feel like when we go out, we usually shoot one like every time we go out.
Well, when we take her, we try and make sure it's high odd situation because, like I said, it's so hard to get a babysitter, and we do. And she doesn't have enough knowledge yet on turkey hunting and calling and setups to where she feels comfortable by herself. So, like she said, with deer, she's gotten that way over the last couple of years.
I feel like no matter like if it's husband, wife, father, son, 2 friends, whatever the case might be, I feel like the team dynamic with turkey hunting is a lot more, not only a lot more doable, but a lot more enjoyable, it seems like, than even with deer hunting. You know, there's just an added level of pressure, I guess, with deer hunting where you want to minimize your footprint as much as possible. When you're spot and stalking something like a turkey, I don't know what it is. I can't really explain it, but I feel like the team dynamic has a lot more success than a lot of other species that you might be hunting. So,
well, it's just easier.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just going to be honest. It's easier to hunt turkeys than deer. I mean, first of all, you don't have to worry about the wind.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to worry about 2 people scent out there. When you're deer hunting, you got 2 people scent out there. Good Lord. You know, you're already just twice as much disadvantage than you were when you had one of you. So you always got to play the wind, you know. Turkeys, that you don't have to worry about that. You can just straight up call them in, where deer, that's very time sensitive on what time of year they're going to react to that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they're as conscious to noise as deer. Now eyesight is probably better, or not probably, it is. But the blinds, oh my gosh, if you got 2 people and you got one of these fold up, these blinds that you pop up, I mean, you can get away with so much in those.
Yeah, absolutely. So I wanted to I wanted to ask you, Sydney, since this is your first time joining us and everything, we've had a, you know, as Michael's been a part of our team for a while, we've heard a lot of stories that have included you. We've had, you know, your success photos and everything the past few seasons, you know, on our pages and everything. He's sent them in, but have you always been a hunter, or did this kind of come with Michael? Was it a package deal?
Actually, when I met Mike, I was like, I love animals and I don't get it. But then after, I don't, my grandpa's a hunter, but like my parents were not hunters or anything. But then after we started dating and I started, you know, getting educated on a lot of it, and I started seeing how much love he put into it and how much work he put into it and how much he knew about the deer population and how much he was actually feeding them. And he really educated me a lot more, because I've known a lot of hunters, but I've never been like educated on it. I didn't see it as what it is. And I also don't know anyone that's as passionate as him. So I don't know how you could not start feeling like, hey, that actually does sound pretty fun and useful. And it also just goes a lot with our lifestyle. You know, we try really hard to be self-sufficient. So it wasn't hard to get me out there. I was excited to do it with him. But when we first started out, to now, like when we first started out, he would get me out there 4 or 5 in the morning, and I would like sleep on the floor in the shanty. And now, you know, it's a lot different. I go out there myself now, but there was a couple times when he'd be like, okay, you're going to go hunting in the morning. And then he'd like tell me to go walk half a mile out in the back of our woods by myself at 5 a.m. And I'd be like, what? You want me to do what? And then I'd pull up and it'd be pitch black out. And I'm like, I don't know if I can do this. But it's been pretty wild, but I do love it. You know, I'm really into it. But I will say that if it wasn't for him, I'm going to literally use the word babying, because he's made sure that I have like the best boots, because my feet and my toes get so cold. He's made sure that I've had really good camo. You know, he's made sure that we've always had a lot of action when we go out there. He's put me in really good spots. He's taught me a lot about it. He'll sit there and text me the whole time and be like, there should be a deer right to your right. Why are you? Stop texting me. I can see it on the trail camera. What are you doing? And so he does. He's helped me a lot. And there's times when I don't see him. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I have not seen anything. And he's like, I just saw one go right by the trail camera.
The cell cams are helping him and hurting you.
Exactly. Or I'll be texting him and he's like, stop sending me Instagram videos. So
Put
like,
your phone on.
exactly. But it has been really nice. You know, I would have probably never ever been into it before, but he's taught me a lot, and he's made me start to become really passionate about it, and I really do. I love it now. I'm learning a lot, and I've kind of just told him, and I've told other friends too, that if you want your wife to hunt, you need to make sure that she goes out there and she's not just getting let down every time, because after a while they're going to be like, what's the point? Mm-hmm. I've got kids to take care of. I've got a house to clean. I've got chores inside, outside, and I don't have the time for this. But then if you, just like a kid, you know, if you can take them out there in the beginning when they're a rookie and, you know, give them some action and help them be successful, they're going to want to do it. So instead of, you know, kind of just shoving me out the door and being like, here, go, freeze, just go get one. That would not have kept me interested. So because of the way that he's, you know, taught me and kept me motivated and kept me, kept educating me, it really got me wanting to be a part of it. And so now, yes, I love being a part of it, and I will learn as much as I can, as fast as I can, but it's not always something that I can learn as I go. It's more, I need action now, and then we'll learn as we go, but I don't have that much time to go out there and figure it out trial and error, because he's had a lot of years to figure all this out. He's had so much time to just go out in the woods, you know, first thing in the morning, like you said. But he's always doing stuff like that. I'm also the one that used to love mushroom hunting, but he's the one that finds them all. So.
Well, a passionate mentor, not just with hunting, with anything, a mentor that's passionate about it definitely makes a huge difference. So that's awesome to hear. So
It does. Thank you.
Well, and I want to throw in just a tip for the husbands, the guys, the boyfriends, to the women that they're trying to get their women out into the outdoors. Do not be a cheap you know what when it comes to gear. I have spent more money on this woman's boots and camouflage than I have ever dreamed of spending on my own. And I go out west, I hike in the mountains, I do camping trips out west, hunting elk and mule deer and everything else. And I have spent to this day more money on her gear to make sure that she is comfortable in the field. Once I realized she was going to do it, the first year she didn't have that, but after the first year, we went all out because we wanted to make sure she was comfortable. And then, yes, it is important that you try and put them. It's just like kids. You take a kid fishing the first time. Probably a good idea to take them to a stocked pond, where they can go have success, get on some action, and enjoy themselves. Then they want to go again. So. Some of I talk to some guys, they're like, why would I take my wife to that stand? That's my best stand. Well, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you take your kid to your best stand? Why wouldn't you take your wife to your best stand? Do you want them to be passionate like you are? Or do you want to throw them in the gar hole and they don't see nothing?
Right.
Make them not want to do it again.
So a lot of the guys need to figure that out. I got some friends I'm trying to get that through to their brain that, hey, maybe you need to spend a little more money on your wife if you want her to enjoy this.
Yeah. Good advice. You'll have to teach a class on how to get your spouse into hunting.
Well, I think that's like you said earlier. When you're passionate about something, it's hard for somebody not to see it if they're open-minded and appreciate it and say, why are they so passionate about that?
Yeah.
And then, pry a little bit. When we first met, she told me, I'll never hunt. Don't ask me to hunt. You can hunt. That's fine. But I'll never hunt. Don't ever ask me to kill anything. And that's fine. And she just, after watching me, she decided, hey, can I tag along?
Yeah.
Sure.
So kind of piggybacking on your passion, Mike, and taking us through our conversation this evening. One thing that I know we've touched on it before, and obviously it's now launched, but one thing that we're trying to capitalize on that passion that you have is through an online series that we just launched and kind of in partnership with Carbon TV called Midwest Mindset. You want to tell our listeners who might be tuned in that aren't familiar with it or might not have seen it yet what Midwest Mindset is?
So Midwest Mindset is just following along on the journey of being a passionate whitetail hunter. And not just a hunter, but a habitat manager, mm-hmm. and someone who is just 110% passionate about what I do when it comes to creating habitat and trying to just have the best experience possible when it gets to hunting season. And I'm a firm believer that the more you put into something in life, the more you get out. And that's in all walks of life, especially when you're consistent. Just because you put more in today doesn't mean you're going to get out more tomorrow. But when you're consistent, every day, diligent, normally you're going to reap rewards. So we're going to follow along in this series, and we're going to see some of the things that I'm doing to go above and beyond the average hunter here in the Midwest when it comes to just trying to manipulate habitat and provide the best hunting scenario possible based on the acreage that we have to hunt, the properties we have to hunt, and some of them, the limited accessibility that we're able to do to the property, because a lot of these properties I don't own, I don't lease, they're just permission properties, and I can only do so much. And so we're going to kind of show you guys what has worked for me and what hasn't worked, honestly. I have absolutely no problem sharing my failures with people, because if it wasn't for all those failures, I would not have any success.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's just something that I'm super passionate about. Like you said, the first series dropped, and we've got several more to come, and we're hoping to keep it to a fairly time sensitive subject matter, especially from, January 1st till September 1st, like that time frame there. Once you get in the hunting season, we're hunting. That's what we're worried about. But the rest of it, that first 8 months of the year or so, there's a lot of work that can be done and needs to be done if you want to be consistently successful in the archery woods, especially, but just in general.
Yeah. Well, we're super stoked to have it on our platforms and everything. So for our listeners, if you guys aren't familiar with it, again, the show is called Midwest Mindset. You can now stream the first episode from our YouTube channel and Carbon TV's platforms, their apps, or if you have it on your smart TV, whatever the case might be, it is available on there. And as Mike mentioned, we're going to try to keep it as consistent and time sensitive, accurate, if you will, as possible, so that the content that we're putting out in the series is relevant to right now for you guys where we might be. We had to set a launch date, so we rolled everything out this past week, actually, at the time of recording this podcast. But from this point moving forward, our publication schedule is going to match as close as possible, kind of real-time activity out there in the off season, if you will. So super stoked to have that online. I'm looking forward to watching as well. Even though I'm down here in Texas, I'm hoping that I learned something too. So
yeah, I hope you do too. I hope there's, it's a dream of mine to maybe one day own my own business as a consulting agent and just I'd love to go to Texas and consult on land there and learn. Honestly, I just want to learn, and just, I just want to be a wealth of knowledge when it comes to the whitetail woods. It's something that I can't get enough of, and sometimes the wife thinks I need to get enough of it. So I can think of something else. Sometimes she says, I wish if I was a deer, you'd probably love me a little more. Obviously she's exaggerating, but
that's funny. My wife says that too. Yeah.
You got the fall obsession part right, Sam.
What's that?
I said you got the fall obsession part right.
Yeah. It's in the name for sure. Well, if you get that consultant thing going, I'll be your first customer for sure, because I fly by the seat of my pants down here. So.
Yeah.
Well, to kind of put a close and wrap up our time this evening, I want to go back to Sydney real quick, because we do have a tradition here on our Fall Obsession podcast. Whenever we have a first time guest with us, some questions that we like to ask them. The first one being, what is your favorite hunting memory to date, and tell us a little bit about it.
Oh man.
Putting her on the spot. I didn't even pre-warn her about this.
I'd probably say we have a property in, and that used to be.
You're not supposed to drop locations. You just say
I
Indiana.
just said
You just say Indiana.
It's too close for him. That's too close. I'll put a beep over that. I'll put a beep over that.
in Indiana that I have been very successful every year up until really
Last
this year. Last year, yeah, because we moved here. But we used to always hunt in the hunting stands together, and I used to love doing that. Sometimes I go there by myself, but some of my favorites were when we would sit there together, because he sees everything. I don't. They come right up on me and they're looking at the deer stand. I'm like, looking over here. But yeah, it probably there was a doe that I shot, and I made a shot on it, and I told him, I swear I had to put a good shot on it. I am feeling really confident, but then we found like 5 drops of blood, and I started to kind of doubt myself. Like, man, I thought that I put a perfect shot on it, and we tracked it. We looked everywhere for blood, and then it wasn't too far off at all from where I shot it. It was a perfect shot. but it didn't bleed, and we found it not very far away. Do you know what I'm talking about? That window? Yeah.
Yeah. So this is with archery equipment too, just for you guys that were wondering. 21-yard shot, and she's using at that time she's using a fixed Grim Reaper 3-blade. Smoke shot this doe, double lunged it. The only reason we didn't find much blood is this is a CRP property, so it's a crop reduction property. And this property used to be a farm field, and now it's just grown up. So tracking blood through 4 and 5 foot weeds,
oh my gosh, it was horrible,
is not easy unless they're just completely opened up. And yeah, she smoke shot this doe. It only went 60 yards.
Huh.
If
But
I
that's
wouldn't
just
have
how
had
thick
him
it was.
there, I'd have never even found a drop. I didn't even know how he was finding these drops of blood. I was like, what? This little thing? There was like this microscopic drop of blood, and then he'd be all the way over here. And he really tracked us, like 20, 30 yards, and then we lost everything. We didn't go very far. And then we just finally had to I was like, well, I know I just saw her go that way. And I saw her drop right about over there. And it was, oh man, it was pitch black by the time we got out there and started trying to look. And yeah, we found her not very far, but those are some of my best memories, just because I feel like that was a lot of time that we got to spend together. That was in the beginning. I feel like I had really good luck in the beginning because we were together, and he would always coach me and talk to me and be like, don't just pull the trigger, breathe, take it easy, you know where to aim, you know what to do. And then I'd make really good shots. And then after I started going by myself, I started to really doubt myself, because I wasn't doing as good. And I was getting trigger anxiety, and I lost a couple deer, and I was getting really upset. But then I started getting better again. And, I was trying to figure out what's going on here. And it was because I wasn't hunting with him anymore. And now I didn't have him talking to me and motivating me and being there with me and helping me. So it was a lot to learn to be by myself. But so everything's been a lot better now. And I'm still learning, because I really don't get to hunt with him a lot. But hunting with him, those are a lot of my favorite memories. We got a lot of crazy, funny memories hunting, but that's probably one of my favorites, just because I remember that was just a great time. That's a great property too. We have a lot of really good memories. I was the only one to really pull any deer off that property. Everyone used to laugh because there were 3 of us hunting that property, and I was the only one taking deer off of it every year.
She had a run. There were 4 years in a row she killed on in that same stand with her bow.
Wow.
Every year, 4 years.
That was a good stand.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's the people you're with, and then it is funny how I can think of a few of those locations throughout the years too that I've had here and there, where it's just every time you're out there was just a special time. So that's cool. Well, the other question I have for you, I know you've talked about how getting out there and actually being able to hunt, it's a juggle sometimes, trying to get schedules and everything to line up to give you an opportunity. But are there any big hunts or a bucket list hunt, if you will, that you would really want to go on one day that you would consider like a once in a lifetime opportunity?
Well, I don't know how y'all feel about this, but I don't know why. I really want to do a gator hunt.
That's cool.
I told him it would be so fun to go down in the bayou and get a gator. I don't know why. That just sounds so fun. I feel like that would be really fun. And we've planned on doing an elk hunt together, or at least mule deer in Colorado. But I think the year that we planned it, I ended up getting pregnant with our third. And so we even kind of planned me still coming out and hiking with him. But then I was having some issues. I kept getting kidney stones, and we were just kind of worried that would be way too much. So I didn't get to do it. But yeah, I wouldn't say there's one. The one once in a lifetime would probably be an alligator, just because I don't know why. I think that would be so fun, just going out there and, I don't know, Florida, all that, wherever you would go. That would be a lot of fun. But probably something like that, or even just hiking through the mountains to get a mule deer, maybe one time getting an elk. That would be fun. It would probably get to be a once in a lifetime thing for an elk for another 16 years because of our youngest is so young.
Yeah.
It'd be a while till we'd really be able to get some time away like that. But definitely something fun like that.
That's awesome. Sounds like you better start studying on alligator hunting, Mike.
I
Yeah.
know, right?
That doesn't sound like a bad time to me going on a hunting vacation.
No, not
yeah,
at all.
we never do that.
Well, y'all, I really appreciate you guys coming in. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the podcast here this evening, but appreciate you guys coming on and, juggling your schedule and making some time to join us for this week's episode. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. It was nice chatting with you.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you for having me on too.
Absolutely. Well, for our listeners, thank you all for listening. If you haven't already, Fall Obsession is on all of the major social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Go Wild, and yes, we are on TikTok now, against my better judgment. We are on there. So go check out Fall Obsession Media on TikTok. And then whatever platform you're listening to this podcast on, be sure you hit that follow and subscribe button. We're on all major podcast platforms, as well as our YouTube channel, Waypoint TV and Carbon TV. Lots of different shows from Fall Obsession began to trickle into that Carbon TV platform. The podcast, obviously, as we already mentioned, Michael's show, Midwest Mindset's coming on there. Our show down here in Texas, Texas Dirt, is on there. And then underneath one of their podcast tabs also is our Couch Chat staff-inspired series as well. So a lot of different Fall Obsession stuff going to Carbon TV. And then it's all and more on our YouTube channel. So be sure you follow and subscribe over there on YouTube. FallObsession.com is the website. That's the hub. Everything goes through there and more. So be sure you head on over to the website, explore around. We have stuff covering hundreds of different topics in the hunting and outdoor industry at this point, so there's something for everybody on there, as well as our apparel. We finally have apparel and shirts and stuff coming back in stock, in new color options, new designs, all sorts of stuff. And then at the time this podcast is launching, we will have just launched our first generation of women's apparel as well. So that's coming to fallobsession.com. Be sure you guys go and check that out. And if you follow any of our staffers like Mike or any of the guys that represent us, they all have some follower codes as well for that'll give you guys a discount on some of their apparel and stuff. Last but not least, Fall Obsession is driven by Ridge Rock Hunt Company. We appreciate the partnership with Derek and Lacey over there in Mississippi. They book hunts with vetted outfitters across the country, so if you're looking for that once-in-a-lifetime or just a cool experience in another state, talk to Derek. He'll work with you on timeline, location, licensing, outfitter, all that good stuff, price. He's super easy to talk to and work something out with, so give Ridge Rock Hunt Company a shout out. You can go to their Instagram page or their website. Guys, thank you all again. I enjoyed it.
Thank you, Sam.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Y'all too. All right, guys. Thank y'all for listening. We're back again next Monday for another Fall Obsession podcast, and I'll catch you then.